In some news, Justin, Israel says it's attacked a Hezbollah militant in Lebanon. Witnesses say planes were heard flying low over the capital, Beirut, and loud blasts have been heard across the city. Israel says the militant had assisted Hamas in planning a significant and imminent terrorist attack against Israeli civilians. A US brokered truce was paused this year. Long conflict since November, but the ceasefire is looking increasingly flimsy, with both sides accusing each other of not entirely living up to the terms of the deal. We'll have more on that as it comes to hand. Meanwhile, the United Nations says health workers should never be a target after the Palestinian Red Crescent said it recovered the bodies of 15 rescuers who were killed a week ago in Gaza. The organisation says their ambulances were clearly marked and should never have been targeted. The Israeli military has admitted to firing on the vehicles. Head of programs at MSF, Simon Eccleshall, says attacks on health workers are egregious.
4 ambulances, Palestinian Red Crescent Society and UN staff evacuating the wounded, and unfortunately they've been what seems to be targeted by military forces, and there's been a massive and unacceptable loss of life.
And we know that the IDF is saying that it was an initial assessment of the incident found its troops had opened fire several vehicles advancing what they say suspiciously towards IDF troops without headlights or emergency signals. That's what the IDF and the military there have been saying. What do you say to that?
Well, what we say is then, if this is the story, let's have it properly, independently investigated. Time and time again in this conflict, there's been an inability to investigate possible war crimes and violations of international humanitarian law. The longer the period of impunity lasts, the weaker that international humanitarian law becomes. So allow in the investigators, allow there to be credible, independent investigation, and we'll listen and hear and participate in that investigation.
And these particular humanitarian workers were not with MSF. However, there have been members of your team who have been killed in recent times. So it must bring all of that right to the fore.
Exactly. Sadly, MSF has now lost 10 of our staff in the fighting in the last 12 months. But as you rightfully say, these people are family. In the field, we're all working hand in hand. We're medics, we're humanitarians, we're delivering essential supplies like food, water, evacuating the wounded from attacks. So when any humanitarian perishes or is attacked, it pulls at the heartstrings of all humanitarians. Enough is enough. There's been too many atrocities. There needs to be accountability, and there needs to be independent investigation.
And what sort of message does this send to humanitarian organisations such as yours about the work that you're doing and the security or ability to do your work safely?
Exactly. This has been a turning point in global understanding of and respect for international humanitarian law. For decades, even hundreds of years, humanitarians have been able to evacuate people from the field of war, and they've been able to do that with respect and safety. Emblems like the Red Cross emblem, the logos of MSF and the UN have been respected. They've not been targeted. There's been safe corridors. There's been clear communication to enable humanitarians to do their job. This is eroded, and it's gone from Gaza as we speak. In the south of Gaza, there are evacuation orders. There are so-called safe zones. That doesn't seem to be working anymore. Time and time again, we're seeing attacks on hospitals, on humanitarians, on civilians, and in ways that are inexcusable. This is not the fog of war. This is not an accident. These are too frequent, too many to be deemed as forgivable in the context of war.
You touched on those evacuation orders. Overnight, we've got news out that Israel has ordered additional evacuations of Rafah.
Yeah.
What's your response more broadly to that?
Yeah, so evacuation orders has been a tool that the IDF, the Israelis, have been using throughout this crisis. It's, in some regards, a welcome development that there's communication around potentially protecting and saving life. But all too frequently, those evacuation orders come with very short notice. You'll appreciate how difficult it is to evacuate a hospital when you have staff and patients in critical care. You can't evacuate within an hour. You need to be able to organise the logistics to safely transport people by ambulance to a hospital where they're going to be able to receive that treatment. It's those logistics that haven't been arranged and respected in this crisis. It's why so many people don't know where to go when the bombing strikes. Hospitals, schools, they're no longer safe havens.
Simon Eccleshall, Head of Programs at MSF, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Dan.